Dude, can you please tuck your boner up?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph.
DJ episode 32.
Wow.
Yo, what's up?
Dude, not much, man. Wrapping up the week and loving it.
Dracula dead and loving it. Well,
Yeah,
good,
dude.
good to hear, man. Good to hear. There's been a lot going on this week. A lot going on this week.
A shit ton.
mean,
Yeah, we actually had trouble this episode narrowing shit down because both of us had put a decent number of articles down to pick from. So
Yeah, and as we discussed just prior, there's a lot of D coverage on this. A lot of Daniel, a lot of D.
There's some D's on that bitch.
Yeah, he just smeared his D all over all these articles. which I'm saying
And
his
some
D,
on
like,
this article, and some D on this article.
like he is D-Bay, like just sprinkling D off the tip of his elbow. Have you seen this video? Do you know what I'm talking about? Salt Bay. You don't know what Salt Bay is?
Wait, is that the dude that's like sprinkling the salt or whatever? Or what?
No, he does puppet magic. I don't know why they call it Salt Bay. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm like, do you know Salt Bay? Do you know Salt Bay? And you're like, you mean the guy that like sprinkles salt?
I don't fucking know. Is that what he's called? I don't know what the meme's called.
He's like the Argentinian, or he's like Argentinian, or like maybe like Portuguese or something.
Yeah,
but it's just
yeah.
he's
got those shades on. Yeah, I just looked at. He's a Turkish butler. I mean, butcher.
He's a Turkish butcher. Yeah. And he, like, everything he does with like this deep sensuality. Like
Yeah.
like he's got like these, like seriously specific, butcher knives, right?
According to Wikipedia, his technique for preparing and seasoning meat became an internet sensation.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what's different of his, from his technique or about his technique than other butchers, because I guess I'm not super deep on the butcher game, but he'll look at a piece of meat and it's like he's like in a dance club or something. You know what I mean? And he'll like look at it and he'll kind of cock his head or whatever, and then he'll rub his hands on it real sensually, and then he'll like grab it, slice a piece off or whatever. But then after he cooks it,
I'm gonna rub some bay leaves all over you, and I'm gonna fucking stuff you so full of thyme and rosemary.
That's it. He's like, oh my God, side of beef. You have no idea what's coming. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Side of beef's like, what? But then
This is how I look when I don't care how I look. Penny marbling.
this all marbling. Only wear it when I don't care how I look. But it's just this really super, super sensual thing. And he's like, I've said sensual like 10 times, but he's like sprinkling salt off of his elbow.
Yeah.
Which I know sounds a little bit challenging, but he's like rolling it down his forearm.
That's like the most famous. That's like the meme photo, right?
Yeah, and it's God bless him. Salt Bay's got some.
Salt Bay.
Salt Bay's got some. He's got some talent.
Well, speaking of meat, you like what I did there?
Yes.
Have you ever come across a road tender?
I know that most of my adult life has been spent like searching out for the perfect basket of tendies. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, honestly, dude, you probably should have been looking down in I believe it was Alabama.
Okay,
Let
what's
me
going
let me
on?
just make sure.
You've got my attention.
Yeah. What the shit? Yeah, Alabama. So, pulled this article from Mashable. Authorities had to tell people to not eat chicken tenders spilled on a road. So,
Okay.
so basically, what happened is there was a 18-wheeler truck that apparently like wrecked or shit was falling off of it, and it spilled a shit ton of chicken tenders on an Alabama highway.
Okay.
And so, once people realized what had been spilled, people started pulling over and trying to gather chicken tenders to take home for their own consumption. Well, so the Cherokee County Emergency Management Agency had to put out a like urgent message via Facebook and Twitter and all their social stuff. And they said the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office is asking that no one try to stop to get the chicken tenders that were spilled from the 18-wheeler accident last night on Highway 35. You're creating a traffic hazard. It's a crime to impede the flow of traffic. Those cases have been on the ground for over 24 hours and are unsafe to consume.
That is absurd.
But of course, once you like commit that shit to social media, everybody just started having a fucking heyday with it. And like somebody responded, and they said, "Waiting for a rig hauling barbecue sauce to get involved." Oh my god! And then there was somebody else said that this is some real government overreach, if you ask me. But
So the were these were frozen chicken tenders?
yeah, they've got to be. I would say.
Well, yeah, you
Well,
ain't gonna,
but I mean, dude,
unless it was going to a fucking chicken tender festival. There's no way, man.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
no way
exactly.
you're cramming that volume of tendies. No way.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think that it's absolutely hilarious that the Cherokee County EMA literally had to tell people not to eat fucking chicken tenders that they found on the ground and I mean, that they have no idea how long they've fucking been there.
Yeah, but
It's also happening in Alabama, so.
This is true, but I mean this is, and I'm not just saying this because this story comes out of Alabama,
Yeah.
Alabama, USA. I'm not even saying that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying like there are two types of people in the world, right? One that will go into a TGI Fridays, order some tenders, and ask for an extra ramekin of honey mustard, dip it in there, take a bite, and be like, "Oh my God, you've got to eat that. You got to try this. This is delicious.
The breading is perfect.
This is."
I don't know what you use for your dredge, but
Hey.
by God,
Hey,
Salt Bay would be proud.
That's right. April, you have got to try this. Like there are those people.
I prefer ranch.
Yeah, there are those people that are asking for double, triple ramekins of sauce
Yeah.
on their TGI Fridays tendies, and then there are those that don't. And that is the stark contrast in this world.
It's true. It's true.
All else is secondary. All else is secondary. But here, dude, here's a segue for you. Speaking of secondary,
Yeah.
side pieces.
Ooh. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take me there. Take me
Yeah.
down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Are the dolls are pretty?
Well, so Daniel and I, we got into maybe a 3 or 4 week stint last year where we were covering sex dolls, and like, do you remember this? It was fucking weird, man. It was like,
well, dude, it was all over the fucking news, or at least like tabloid news kind of shit.
yeah, I mean, everywhere you looked, it was sex dolls, boners, sex dolls. No, I'm kidding. Never mind. That was just my Google history.
You might want to clear that recent
It was
search,
everywhere I looked.
Yeah. The only thing that would come up for articles was all this sex doll stuff, and I was just searching for sex doll dick pics.
Yeah,
It's like,
I called Google, and I was like, "There's a problem with my Google," you know.
there's a problem with my Google. Sounds like a personal problem, Friendo.
I said, "There's a problem with my Google," and then Martha's giggling in the background. That was when we were crank calling the hell out of people, man, last January, February.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to it. So this article's from the Sun UK, and whatever. The Sun's not a perfect
Is
source.
that basically comparable to like fucking the Globe
It's like
or like National Enquirer, or is it more reputable?
I think it's more like New York News. You know New York News?
Or like USA Today kind of thing?
Maybe USA Today, but
Yeah.
I think online New York News is a good comparison. So it's like
Gotcha.
they just publish a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Some of it's quality, some of it's not. But
Okay.
anyway, so we were talking a lot about sex dolls last year, and this article, holy shit, is it? It is like they say things are funny when they're shocking, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like that's what humor is. It's like you're super surprised, like things take a direction you don't expect, and like the reaction is to laugh.
Yeah.
This fucking thing, man. Like to each their own. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. However, it is a weird world that we're living in, and just an interesting transition into this future world of like future fucking or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this article, sex dolls are way better than real women, and they don't care what I do to them. 3 men reveal why they really use sex robots. Okay, and so these guys are calling themselves, or have been titled, digisexuals, right? They've ditched the traditional dating scene, according to the article, and turned to silicone sex dolls in a disturbing trend. I don't know how disturbing it is, but disturbing trend that is becoming increasingly popular. Dude, this fucking guy that they have on here, this dude named Nick, right?
Yeah, the truck driver.
Is
Yeah.
Nick a truck driver?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So this fucking guy, he looks like,
He kind of looks like Simon Pegg.
kind of, but he also looks like maybe like 13 with a beard, the way that he's dressed, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's got here, an iPad or whatever, but this first fucking picture, which this will be posted on our show notes, he's got his sex doll wearing this like leather, top or whatever, and he's got a beer in her hand and a cigarette. Okay, and
So
he's
you
sitting.
can pose their fingers, I guess, however you want. I mean, is that like I wonder if they're just like wiring and stuff. In
Yeah,
there, so.
no, there is, right?
Okay.
And so his girlfriend, his his doll, right?
Yeah.
Is
So this dude's got an actual girlfriend.
yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So this doll, dude. So these people just create like this fucking.
It's like normal scenarios with these things.
They just create this alternate world with these dolls, right?
Yeah.
So it says Nick says that he's created a personality for Crystal and imagines she will punish him for watching the football, is what he says, right?
Yeah.
But he likes to watch football, so she'll let him do that. And this picture is of him on the ground and this doll over him, and he's got like this, I don't even know, like a fucking head wound. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, his head's wrapped up like he has a head wound.
And so
you think Crystal roughed him up?
well, dude, and then she's sitting there with a shirt that says boyfriend problems.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Anyway,
And is she holding a belt?
she's got him tied up with the belt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so anyway, he says he hugs Crystal when he's lonely and he's had a hard day. Yeah, you're right. Truck driver from Ontario, Canada. Crystal cost him about 6,200 pounds, right? So that's about $6,200,
Yeah.
little more. They've got some close-ups on these dolls, and then you get into the article, and they kind of get into a couple of other pictures. And so, and it says like this one caption is Nick waited for 2 weeks to have sex with Crystal and sat her down with a cup of coffee first.
Yeah, I saw that.
She's sitting there, she's got a cup of coffee. In the next picture, he's saying Nick enjoys a date night with Crystal. And she's like, Crystal's
She's got like peanut butter toast and a water bottle.
peanut butter toast and a water bottle with like this fucking fork, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he didn't even like fuck with actually posing her hand very realistically.
yeah.
Look at that fork, man.
Yeah. And so
It's like
and
in
so-
between two fingers.
And so then you get into there's this other guy named Isola who's an IT consultant. He's in his 60s according to this article. Second marriage lasted for 23 years. He's got 2 grown-up sons, but he started buying these sex dolls, right? And so he's gotten a couple of them, and he's got these dolls. He's got like 3 of them, or no, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 6 dolls. Okay.
Oh my god.
And he describes himself as being monogamous to his dolls, right? And he says, I'm not interested in pursuing a relationship. He's like, this is my lifestyle, similar to someone deciding to be vegan, right? I'm old, and all I want to do in my waning years is have fun, and for me, my dolls are way better than real women, right? And so he just has.
I love that one of their names is Kissy.
One of their names is Honey Rider, too.
Honey Rider.
All right, and so, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. Each to their own,
Yeah.
without a doubt, right? And like, I'm sure there are situations where, this makes a lot of sense. For example, this guy TJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So TJ has a wife whose name is, it just says TJ's wife. And I guess TJ's wife can't have sex without just a lot of pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended up getting a doll that looks like his wife, right?
Jesus.
And so here's the thing, man. Whatever.
Tasha takes the burden of having sex away from TJ's wife, who sadly finds it too painful. And they have a picture of Tasha reading a Marie Claire magazine.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Dude. Wait a second.
What's that?
How is he posing her mouth?
Oh, that's a good point.
I think that's his wife. We're confused here. Yeah. Is that? I can't tell.
Oh my God. You've got a really good point.
I can't tell.
I really cannot tell from that photo.
No. It's the doll. It's definitely the doll.
It's got to be the doll.
It's got to be the doll. I don't know. You guys.
Oh my God. No shit. Any listeners, you have to look at this shit, because the way that the story is being told, it doesn't look like any people are being pictured, with the exception of like the males and the dolls. But then they have this one photo that looks like it could potentially be a woman, because the mouth basically is posed in a smile.
Dude,
I don't know. Fucking
is
weird,
that,
dude. I don't know.
Is that his wife?
That might be his wife.
She looks real.
Dude, that is his wife, because she's wearing glasses. And no
Yeah.
other picture with the doll has glasses on.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
Oh
it is.
my god, his wife looks like a fucking sex doll.
Well, you just can't, dude. But I think he got this doll to look like his wife.
That's
The
just
thing.
creepy as shit.
Okay, well, you guys got to check this out.
Yeah.
You just can't fucking tell. But I mean, so the Uncanny Valley, god damn, we are like
We're
camping
there,
with this
man.
motherfucker right now, dude.
Yeah.
Like warming our hands by the fire. But so, I mean, the deal with these things, like who gives a shit? Like if this is what you want to do, like it is all good. You should do this without a doubt. But it's definitely. It's gotta fuck with you, man. It's gotta fuck with you. I would think.
And I think that that's kind of the main concern, isn't it? That it's like, some of these guys get these dolls so that they can fucking do things that are like, would be very questionable, if not illegal, to another human kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like...
But my question, where the fuck do you store these? Just in a closet?
Well, I mean, for Nick, it seems like he's fucking like, basically, he probably puts her at the sink washing dishes while he's like off trucking.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Or shit, he probably takes her with him. If he's a long haul trucker, I mean,
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Get lonely on the road.
This article is just, it's crazy because these things are becoming, even since we started covering this last summer, they have definitely become more realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, and they look fucking real, man. And so,
well, dude, there's an industry coming about specifically for realistic sex dolls.
And here's what's crazy. How many people do you think would fess to fucking these dolls? Like out of like not
like
a lot.
Percentage wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say a quarter or less.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more than a quarter. I would say right around a quarter.
So if that is the case, right? Many of them are fucking lying. Because they're selling these things for over $6,000, right?
Yeah.
And if you go down to the website, they have, which I'm sure they have like interchangeable parts or whatever. But if you go down to the website, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 30 dolls, right?
By the way, it's about $7,700 US.
70. Oh, the conversion 6,500 pounds.
Oh, I thought it was 6,000. I ran 6,000, so it's probably close to around $8,000.
Yeah,
65. So
yeah. Well, I think they have like different bolt-ons that you can get. It depends, But
I did see that pubic hair was an add-on.
Yeah, that's an extra 30 pounds.
Yeah.
If you're into big bushes, you got to shell out, dude.
Yeah.
But they've got 30 dolls that you can choose from. And yeah, man, $8,000, I guess for companionship, that's cool, whatever. But I mean, it's just one of these things where,
you think they've got like payment plans?
I know they've got payment plans. Are you kidding me, dude?
What?
Are you kidding me? Most people, wait, say it again.
I said, oh, did you order one? Yeah. You're like, yeah, dude. They were really reasonable.
Do they have payment plans? Absolutely, they've got payment plans and a super low APR.
0% APR till 2020.
It's a great deal, man. It's a great deal. But dude, I mean, tons of people are going to be into this. Like, did you see the doll brothel? Did you see this?
Yeah. No, that's what they were saying in this article. They were saying that like sex doll brothels have been like popping up.
I think
so that they were saying that you can. Oh yeah, here we go. With several doll brothels popping up across the world, including a shop named the Dolly Parlor in Greenwich, London. Men are getting the chance to try before they buy.
That's such an awesome idea, dude.
Dude, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're not. I could see that succeeding. Let me put it that way.
It
Do
will
I
be
think that I would frequent it? No, but I could see that succeeding.
it will be incredibly popular.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredibly popular, I think, you know.
hmm
But anyway, so
Dude,
the sec
11 different vagina styles and shapes, including neat and tight options.
I mean, can you mix them? You know, you
Dude,
get
and
the old neat and tight. That is
if
absurd.
pubic hair is 80 pounds, man, additional.
Oh, I thought you were talking about weight.
80 pounds of pubic hair.
I'm like that is a monster bush option. You know, that's like
That's
that's like
$102 US.
$102 is better than 80 pounds of bush hair.
Oh, that's
Sure,
awesome.
for sure. But man, I mean, so anyway, the sex doll revolution is upon us. It's happening. It's going down. You know, like get your local yellow pages and
Yeah.
figure out where your local brothel is. I think it's interesting that people are still pushing back against that in the U.S.
Yeah.
There was big pushback on, I think it was in Texas, and people were all against it. But I mean, it's like, whatever, man, whatever your flavor is, that's fine. I think most people,
Well, whatever you
particularly
do behind closed doors, dude, whatever.
whatever, right? Most people in the U.S. though are really quiet about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's like,
But it's becoming more. It's becoming more. Or sexuality is becoming more of a. I mean, not table talk necessarily, but people are becoming more comfortable with it. I think.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly more comfortable than maybe like in the 60s or 70s or whatever. But, it's like if you've ever walked into a sex shop and seen, fucking gimp suits, and then you're like looking at, 20 people that you hang out with or whatever, 20 people that are in a bar, we'll say,
Yeah.
somebody's buying some crazy fucking shit or they wouldn't be making it.
Yeah.
Like that's just not the way. That's the way economics works, And
Supply
so
and demand, man.
supply and demand, bro. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. But I love it, man. Honestly, I think it is. It's probably not for me. I don't really see why I would. I can't think of a reason now. Like it doesn't really tickle my fancy. It doesn't sound that.
Yeah.
But whatever, man. If it works for somebody's lifestyle, and they want to do it, that's fine. I would say, however, that if like a good friend of mine was like, "Oh, by the way, like have you heard of RealDoll.com?" I would just be like, yes,
Yeah. Where is this story going?
how would you feel? How would you feel if somebody that you knew really well was like, you're like, dude, like you haven't been dating in a while, and you're like, I've been on this sex doll thing for like the last 3 or 4 years. Like, how would you? I mean,
Dude, to be perfectly candid with you,
business, but like, would you be into it? Would you be like, sure, whatever? What do you think?
I would be like, sure, whatever, like you said, whatever floats your boat. But I would completely and utterly be asking questions about it, kind of.
Yeah, you'd be that guy that would get drunk and be like, let's get the dolls out. I'm kidding.
Crystal free tonight.
It's crystal free. I'm kidding.
Honey Rider. Honey Rider.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You'd add that to the end, and
Yeah.
you'd just be like, obviously, this motherfucker is not kidding. He wants to bang my sex doll. But anyway, all right, let's move on.
Well, dude, so speaking of sex dolls and potentially keeping people out of precarious situations, maybe Ed Buck needs to check into some real dolls. I'm sure they could do a special order to do a blackmail for him.
Yeah,
because
dude.
apparently that's what tickles his fancy. So
this is pretty gnarly. Run us down. Give us a little bit of a background on Ed Buck.
Yeah.
And what this situation is.
Yeah. So I pulled this from NBC News, and I actually have another NBC News article that kind of followed up on it to give a little bit more detail into the situation. But basically what happened was another person, yes, you heard me, another black male was found dead, according to the sheriff's investigators in L.A., and he was the dude was found dead at the Democratic fundraiser Ed Buck's house. This is the second body that has been found at his house. So,
well, and Ed Buck. Okay, so the second body that's been found in his house in number
basically
one
2 years.
in 2 years, right? But so the second body that's been found in his house, and these men overdosed, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Or is
specifically
this
on
this
methamphetamine.
they overdosed on meth?
Yeah. So this was kind of the interesting thing because
Okay.
this journalist, I believe she's a journalist. She's got a website, and I believe I don't know if she was necessarily. Let me try to find that real quick because she was named in one of these. Her name's Jasmine Gimmel, or no, I'm sorry, Jasmine Canick. Gimmel was the or Jamel or whatever. I'm sure it's Jamel. But
Jamel, what the guy's first name?
yeah, Jamel
Yeah,
Moore
Jamel.
was the
Yeah,
first
Jamel.
dude found dead. But then they
And
found
are
this
these,
other
by the way, are these young gay men?
young black gay men.
Young black gay men.
So
Okay.
and they were actually described as kind of down and out kind of thing. So they're basically calling Ed Buck a predator at this point because
Yeah,
he finds
dude,
these
it
dudes
sounds like
that
he's
are like,
grooming.
oh no, dude, he is a fucking piece of shit. But like supposedly what he does, let me find this. Supposedly what he does is wait, scratch that. Let me tell you because I was actually wondering where he got his money from. Because I was like, well, this is interesting. He's a big Democrat Party supporter, and he's a big supporter of the LGBT community. I'm sure I left off some letters, but I can't remember them all. So, but anyway, so he actually started off as a model and actor, and then he started. Let's see. He made a significant amount of money running and selling the data service company Gopher Courier. So I looked up Gopher Courier, and this was all in Arizona prior to getting to LA. But
Okay.
it's literally a courier service. So
Okay.
apparently he made some bank in Arizona running that stuff. And now I think he's just basically kind of a political activist for the Democrat Party. In addition to, he was part of, let's see, what was the, because he had to resign because from Jamel Moore's death, which is the first guy that was found back in 2017. And like I said, another accidental overdose of crystal meth. He was a member of the steering committee of the Stonewall Democratic Club, which apparently is a LA LGBT political group. And
Okay.
so he ended up resigning in 2018 because of all the shit that had come about with Jamel Moore's death, even though they ruled Jamel Moore's death as an accidental overdose. So they found this other guy, and let's see, what was his name? Okay, so sorry, real quick. Jasmine Canick, she's an activist and a blogger. And
Okay.
by the way, I pulled her website and I put it in the links so we can throw that on the show notes because she actually has a specific like section of her blog that's 100% dedicated to Jamel Moore's death and basically kind of trying to bring down Ed Buck. But so basically he lures young black guys that are like I said on the down and out, and then basically will talk them into taking crystal meth injections, which apparently is referred to as slamming. I didn't even know you could fucking do that. I thought you
Okay.
just smoked it. But like,
All right. Hang on.
yeah. What's up?
Injecting crystal meth, slamming. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just taking
So-
a note.
Yeah. But yeah, so but
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm trying.
Fuck you.
I'm gonna slam the fuck out of my Sunday afternoon. Go ahead. Though.
No, but I had never even fucking heard of that. But I mean, obviously, I'm not really big into crystal meth, so.
Right.
But there's a
Right.
very high potential for overdose when you take it in that manner. And
Okay.
so he would basically promise them drugs and try to get them hooked on drugs for sexual favors, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
They found this dude. Let's see. I wanted to try to find the other guy's name. I think it was like Tim something. Yeah, Timothy Dean.
All right.
So they found that dude. This was the most recent case. They found him. I guess. I think it was like
You're saying when they found
the last guy. Yeah, I was trying to find the article is on the 8th. So they said Monday. So it was last Monday. Whenever that was.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but anyway, the other thing that was really weird is they found this Jasmine Canick woman,
Okay.
the blogger. She like contacted Timothy Dean's parents, I believe, or no, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Timothy Dean or the Jamel Moore guy that they found. They found his like. No, okay. So this was Jamel Moore's.
Okay, I'm getting a
journal.
little confused here.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little confused
I
here.
know.
So,
I'm bouncing back and forth because the way that this thing was written is they were talking about Jamel Moore, and then they brought in Timothy Dean, but they kind of popped back and forth between the two. But
okay, so basically, Ed Buck, wealthy donor, influential Democrat in in California, in Southern California,
in West Hollywood, he was born and raised.
In West Hollywood,
Taking meth for most of his days.
and now this is the second body that's been found in his house, right?
Correct.
So what I'm curious about is I mean, what the fuck happens to you when somebody ODs in your house? Is there there's no liability for that?
Well, see,
Like,
and that
seems incredibly crazy to me.
So
That somebody
they can't. This is the thing, though. They can't prove that Ed Buck gave him the drugs, and Ed Buck did not have possession of any drugs. So that's why they had. I know that's why they ruled the first one as an accidental overdose, and I believe they were basically trying to pull the same shit with the second one.
right.
But real quick side note. So they found they found the journal of Jamel Moore, and he had in the journal, "I've become addicted to drugs, and the worst one at that. Ed Buck is the one to thank. He gave me my first injection." And then in another section of the journal, he said, "If it didn't hurt so bad, I'd kill myself, but I'll let Ed Buck do it for now."
Oh my God.
Right?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the smoking gun.
Right?
Good God. Okay, but this guy, so here's the deal, right?
Yeah.
You can't help but think with these motherfuckers, man,
Mm-hmm.
like you are super important until you are not, right?
Yeah.
And so put another way, everyone's a throwaway at that level.
Yeah.
Everyone's a throwaway. No one is entrenched, you know.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
you're right, dude.
you know, it's I don't know. I think that dude, I don't know, man, cuz this guy's like pretty closely associated with the Clintons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not even going to go in that direction. Politics at that level, it's just fucked all the way across the board. You know, I mean, it's like, I really don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It's super fucked. Now, personal opinion in here.
Well, dude,
I think
just power at that level.
power at that level, right? But that's that is that we're just using politics as a proxy to power.
True.
Really,
Yeah,
that's what
true.
we're talking about. But like, I think what's really interesting about this is that the like this kind of shit, maybe I don't know, maybe not in the 80s or 90s, right? But certainly in like the 50s and 60s and 70s, dude, you wouldn't even fucking hear about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this guy would be discovered in his apartment, and he would be like a nobody fucking actor who just OD'd on some meth or whatever. And like nobody would think twice about it. And now it's just like, you can't do that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody's got to get burned at the stake, and maybe it's this Ed Buck guy, maybe it's not. But it's like, I mean, imagine living in those circles where it's like, this is the life that you're living, and it's just like, oh god damn, is he dead? Another one? You know what I mean? Like,
no,
like that's something that's real. It's crazy.
Yeah,
totally crazy, dude.
But yeah, so this blogger girl, Jasmine Canick, she's been like covering basically all these like victims in like the LA area kind of thing, and she tweeted out in let's see, it was July of 2018.
Yeah.
If another young black gay man overdoses or worse dies at Democratic donor Ed Buck's apartment, it's going to be the fault of the sheriff's department and LA district attorney for not stopping him when they had the opportunity to.
And then this happened.
Fucking 6 months later.
I mean, dude, there's no way this motherfucker.
Oh, dude, he's going to the fucking slammer, man.
There's no way, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that this could be covered up even remotely. So it's gotten way too much traction.
Yeah, I just think it's absolutely wild, and I mean, I don't know, playing at that level. These cats, like, we had a we've got I'll just go ahead and come out with it here. We've got a special episode that's coming out on the 23rd, February 23rd, and we'll talk a little bit about this more as the date gets a little bit closer. But we'll get into people in powerful positions being into shit that's off the beaten path, right? But it's like, I can't help but think that, you get to a certain point and you're donating all this money to the sheriff's department, and Eric Garcetti really well, and you're on a first name basis with, all these power players in Southern California, that you probably get to the point where you're just like, you kind of feel like you're untouchable, and I mean, can you fucking imagine? Right? Like they find a dead body at your house, no repercussions. Like, that's just crazy. That's fucking crazy. Yeah. It's not like your granddad died of natural causes. Like, this is like a young, probably, on most kind of data points here, super healthy person. And then they just fucking turn up dead at your house, and then they start doing some investigation, and it's probably due to your kink. Like, what the fuck,
Yeah. No, I do, totally.
It's completely wild. So,
and the weird thing is so they were talking to Buck's attorney, and he basically said, let's see. So NBC News talked to him. So it appeared in a prepared statement that his client was not in custody and hadn't been charged in connection with the death of Timothy Dean, who's the last one. Whom he said was a, quote, longtime friend of Buck's who had asked to come over. Ed was reluctant, but the friend was insistent. A short time later, Dean, quote, began exhibiting bizarre behavior, which prompted Buck to call 911. It's like, well, dude, I'd say if you got a vein full of meth, you might act weird.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
And it's like this like long time friend shit. That it's like he was quoted in like another one that it was like something along the lines of like, you can't this was the lawyer that was speaking, but he was like, oh well, basically Ed Buck can't change the fact that some of his longtime friends mishandled their lives or something like that.
I mean,
I mean, it's just some despicable shit.
that's the fuckery that these guys get into, dude.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, it's totally fucking wild, and they
Yeah.
party hard as hell. But I've got a buddy that still lives in Los Angeles. Gay guy. And we were chatting. This was years ago. Chatting about just the craziest, parties or whatever that he's ever been to, and he was just recounting the story to me about like, getting this invite up to the typical, kind of 80s style. Well, not 80s style, but like Scarface looking mansion or whatever up in the hills, rolling up into this party,
pool party.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely, dude. Middle of the summer in Los Angeles, you walk in. He was like, the guy took, he said you pull in valet, right? So they grab your key, valet, whatever, and then you're met at the door with like a guy with a tray of and I know this guy pretty well, right? And I've never fucking known him to embellish, but met at the door the guy with a tray of drinks, and then there's a guy to the right, and he's got a tray of blow, right? And he said one of the dudes turned around, and he's got like a waiter's
like uniform
apron on with no pants. And he's just like, it's just fucking next level, like Nero shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, there's absolutely no commentary on the gay community at all. It's just
dude, it happens with fucking all communities.
It's just
once you get to that level.
Exactly. It's just this hedonistic fucking insanity, dude.
Yeah.
Like when you've figured out the economic machine, and you've been able to harvest some economy, that's where people focus most of their fucking time, And so like when that's happened, and now you're just like, okay, what's my next challenge? Unfortunately, some people are like, how many young black gay dudes can I fuck? I mean, it's
my
just
next
like,
challenge is to fit all of this cocaine up my nose in the next half hour.
I mean, it's or just get into some absurdly, risky shit, because that's how you get your kicks, because
well, it's like what do you get, or what do you try to achieve once you have in your eyes everything?
Right, or just that's exactly right. And so power is a fucking crazy thing. But anyway, so moving on. This was one from we actually skipped over this one a little bit earlier, but I'm gonna circle back and try to skin this pretty quick.
Oh shit, might be.
So this one is from Motherboard, Vice's property Motherboard, the kind of Vice reporting on tech. And the title of the article is, I gave a bounty hunter $300, then he located our phone, right? And so to kind of get this head in the right direction here, so I saw this article, and then I was chatting with you early midweek about AT&T. And I mentioned like, wow, shit, this has happened really fast. AT&T was accused of selling people's location data, right? And then they came out and they said, kind of point blank, yep, and we won't do it anymore, right? And so this article, I had pulled this article before the cycle of AT&T reporting happened, right?
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, there is a supply chain of folks that you could work backwards through, okay, to locate people's cell phones, right? And pull like geo data from people's phones, right? So what's interesting here is that doesn't seem like a super hard task, but if you think about it, to be privy to where someone is at any given time, like there's this real gray area with cell phones, right? And you'll see that oftentimes for cops to get geo data on people, they have to have a court order, right? the cell phone, as the law reads today, I believe, the cell phone is a piece of your personal property, and if you don't want somebody to search it or to know what's going on with your cell phone, like that's kind of where it is, right? And if you guys will recall, past couple of years, there's been a big dust up between Apple and some law enforcement agencies because there have been some just fucking crazy crimes that have been committed, and Apple wanted access to, the data on the phone.
Well,
and
the authorities wanted access to it.
Yeah, excuse me, I misspoke. Yeah, the authorities wanted access to the phone, and Apple's refused, right?
Yeah.
And so they'd have somebody come in and hack it and whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that was the case with the folks that were involved in the shootout that ended up being linked to terrorism in San Bernardino, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so basically, they've got about probably a quarter of the way down the article, there is a pretty cool little graph on how Motherboard got cell location data, right, using only a phone number. So this is what this guy did, reporter for Motherboard. He calls a contact, right? Gives the contact a cell phone number, and the contact works this cell phone number into a series of his contacts and is able to get real-time location data only based on the cell phone number. Okay? What's crazy is, and I'm actually kind of going through this live right now as I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that fucking crazy, right? But I think that it doesn't seem that crazy because, we're all just used to geolocation in our daily lives. But it really is that fucking crazy. Like, you should not be able to give somebody a fucking cell phone number and figure out exactly where in the world they are, to know exactly where everybody is. But what's wild is the cell phone companies, they have to, and I think this would be obvious to most listeners, but in case it's not, cell phone companies, the way that call routing works, they have to know where you are because they have to know how to route the call to which tower and how the tower is going to deliver, whether it's a text or an incoming call to you, how to find your phone and route this call. So all this data is absolutely available, and it's a necessity of interacting with these networks. So they have it. So the Motherboard guy gives his the cell phone and $300, right, to a bail industry source, they say, right? The bail industry source then gives it to a bail bond company. The bail bond company then gives it to a company called Microbuilt. Microbuilt then gives it to Zumigo, a mobile in context is what Zumigo is, right? And then Zumigo is able to get this information from T-Mobile, right?
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, so Microbuilt, it buys this product from Zumigo, and it's just an aggregator that just sells this information. To to everybody from like landlords to like they say motor vehicle salesmen to people that are looking conducting credit checks. So like this information is available and it's out there, it's out there on you. So like, I mean, dude, here's the dangerous part, right? Some fucking stalker, it's just your location data, where you are at any given time. I would say most people never turn their phones off. Most people, right? Yeah. Most people do not turn their phones off at night. They leave them on, they charge them. And most people have their phone on them at all times. And so that means that for $300, anybody can track and tell where you are. That's fucking crazy, man. That is not a lot of money. This information is apparently
it's clearly readily available.
And and I just think that's wild. I mean, Microbuilt.
Did it say how long that took?
I think that it took. I've got a couple of notes here, so let me go.
Have at it. Keep going.
Let me go through them, but let me just get some thoughts from you. I mean, what? It was just interesting because as I was going through this, I was thinking, like that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it fucking is. It's a big deal. This piece of technology is empowering anyone to be able to tell wherever you are at any given time. That's interesting. I don't know. What are your high level thoughts here?
Well, I mean, I guess in my opinion, this is in my opinion, this is just like a complete and utter like privacy just smasher kind of thing. That it's like, I mean, basically, with the exception of your identity, your location is probably second important.
Okay.
Kind of, or you know what I'm saying? And so it's having that, being able to get that information about anyone with the cell phone, which is basically anyone and over the age of probably like 10, you know. I mean, that's just like terrifying. Because I mean, honestly, after just making that statement, you think about like fucking pedophiles and shit.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, you paid $300, and you know that this kid that somehow gave you his number or her number or whatever is hanging out at the mall right now. So you could cruise over to the mall and fucking try to pick him up or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, there's just like, I could just think of more egregious reasons to use this than like good reasons.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
But,
well, and by the way, this shit is cheap at scale, right?
Yeah.
Let's say
it looks like.
Yeah, locating a phone can cost as little as $4.95.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, dude, that's absolutely insane.
Getting real-time updates on a phone's location, real-time updates can cost about $12.95, right? And it's like this guy says, there's this guy, Frederic Kolthner, who's a data exploitation program lead at campaign group Privacy International. He says the U.S. has a completely unregulated data system, and I mean this is exactly what we've been dealing with, regarding Facebook. It's exactly what in some ways we've been dealing with. Certainly regarding, official overreach from policing agencies and shit like that. But in some ways, in my mind, like this deplatforming conversation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is it is a data conversation that we're having. Who owns this? The data that's being produced. Who has the responsibility to protect it? And who should be informed in the way that it travels through the ecosystem, and we just don't. Nobody's talking about this, and I think no one's talking about this because it's absolutely in the best interest of regulators and big tech companies to push this conversation back as far as they fucking can, without a doubt. Just to continue to kick the can down the road. It does not in this article give an update on how long it took, but I get the impression that once.
Just from the stuff that you've just said recently, I couldn't have taken that fucking long. I mean, shit, dude, $12 for like real time updates on a phone's location.
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's like, and this dude shelled out 300. I'd say it was probably within hours. So
absolutely, dude, absolutely. So so pretty wild there, pretty wild. But we're gonna move on here.
Which real quick side note, speaking of deplatforming, did you see that Alex Jones, the about the Sandy Hook, oh my gosh, basically
Sandy, he was found, dude, he was found liable. Because I think it was like he was being charged with slander, or I don't know. Can you peck that in and see exactly what he's being charged with?
Yeah, for sure.
But Alex Jones had suggested that Sandy Hook might have been a conspiracy, and then he was taken to court for that. But fuck, I don't know, man. You just. I went back and I'm a big fan of I mean, a lot of people are, but a big fan of Rogan and a big fan of some of the folks that he has on his perspective. And the challenging part is that I have also, so Joe Rogan talks about this a little bit, but there was this guy who I'm drawing a blank on his name. I think he was anyway, he's like a YouTube type of personality, and he was interviewing Alex Jones, and it's like Alex Jones is he's a wild man. Like he is a marketer. That's what he is. He's a showman, right? And a lot of the shit that he says is gross and weird and just fucking, he's just a bizarre dude. But that being said, man, you're just never going to win. That's a conversation about the Sandy Hook shit. It's like, why go there? Like, you're just, even going back and looking at what he said, I mean, he really did say, like, it's fucking gross that he would say this, but people are entitled to their opinion, And he said,
plus, dude, if you didn't think that he probably picked up a shit ton of viewers,
well, and that's his
by
game.
Saying something.
That's his game, man.
Yeah,
that's his hustle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I've got a buddy, Paul, who made this comment, and it was just spot on. It's like, look, Alex Jones is interested in perpetuating Alex fucking Jones, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that is his business.
Yeah.
And so saying bombastic, crazy shit, and then like getting people in, and then like qualifying it, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And that's what he did here. But the problem is when you start talking about kindergartens being fucking mass murdered. Like, you're just not going to win that. I mean, I think, personal opinion, if Alex Jones wants to say crazy shit about anything, Alex Jones should be able to say crazy shit about anything.
Yeah.
That is kind of freedom of speech in a nutshell. But ain't no way you're going to win that, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's going to, you're going to have the freedom to say that shit, but like we always say, you don't have the freedom from repercussions of shit you say.
Right.
But anyway, that was just a side note to mention. But
yes,
anyway.
So Daniel pulled this one up a little bit earlier this week, and this is a fucking awesome article. But it's entitled, it's from Wired. It's entitled "Info Porn: Facebook or YouTube Down?" ? What we all do when sites crash, right? And so it gets into a discussion about Silicon Valley and the kind of clawing for your time that happens in the Valley. Talks about, the average adult spending 24 hours per week online, which has got to be fucking on the low end. Gotta be.
Yeah, 100%, man.
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah.
People, the infinite scroll, and people getting into getting into YouTube rabbit holes, which I've fucking YouTube rabbit holes. Oh man, I've been there.
I fell into one of those the other day.
And so what they do is they say, okay, when our favorite websites are down, what do we do, right? And so there's some pretty interesting items that they found here. So first of all, number one is when Facebook fails, news thrives, and they show this little graph, exact anti-correlation here, right?
Yeah.
Like when Facebook is up, news is doing its thing. When Facebook is down, or when Facebook is up, news is down. When Facebook is down, news is up, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
The other one was so that was number one. Number two, they talk about YouTube going dark. Again, news sites saw a jump in traffic, news sites saw a jump in traffic, and they also saw a jump in people searching for YouTube, like news on YouTube.
Like what happened to YouTube? Why is it down? Kind of shit.
Exactly. And then they also say that when YouTube is down, traffic to porn sites surge. So traffic to the porn site Pornhub surged 21%. Now, like they're obviously, causality and causation are two very different things, right?
Yeah.
Like
correlation and causation.
Correlation and causation. Yeah, thank you. Correlation and causation are two very different things. But so these are just some correlations, and then it's like, they discussed Fortnite, and when Fortnite was down, people went to Pornhub, right? And so,
Dude, I didn't realize like Pornhub. Yeah, obviously it's porno, but like the actual like fucking forums and shit. There's actually some shit that gets discussed on Pornhub that would blow your fucking mind.
yeah,
Like, and I wish I had an example like off the top of my head. I don't, but it was really funny. Like I mean, you just see all of this. I know on Reddit, you see all these conversations that are screen grabbed from Pornhub, and it's just like sometimes you're just like, how the fuck did this like thread pop up when you're watching like whatever two lesbians or something go like ass to ass or something.
yeah. I mean, it's. I
It's
don't
like,
think.
but what is the geopolitical like effect of two lesbians going
Well,
ass to ass?
I don't think what they I don't think what they I don't think I realized how like the social angle
Yeah,
at all. I just never thought about it, but
yeah,
there's a huge social angle to the whole thing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's kind of interesting there, but yeah, so that's what happens when these websites are down, man. Is
Hmm.
like we don't go offline. We just get into other shit online, which totally makes sense, man. I mean, I saw before we get onto the next article here. I
Yeah.
saw an interview with a brief little soundbite from an interview with David Bowie a few years ago,
Hmm.
and the way I love people that are God, I don't want to say true artists, but people that are just have like a really different perspective on the world, right?
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
that oftentimes musicians and authors and creative types, which by the way I think can absolutely be mathematicians and programmers and people that we think are more, what is it, left brain is is the analytical kind of side of the brain. Is that it? Left brain, right brain?
I believe that's right. I believe that's right. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah. So people that are more, let's see, da, 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 da. No, yeah. That's right.
Left is analytical and
Analytical,
methodical.
yeah.
Right is creative and artistic.
Right. So people that are kind of, I think people that, industries that we typically consider to be these industries driven by people that are left brained. I think oftentimes these people, are just extremely creative in the way that they see the world. And so my point in backing up and using that approach before I mentioned David Bowie's article is
Hmm.
because it's like, some people might say David Bowie's a musician. What the fuck does he have to say about the internet?
Yeah.
Point is they have a different perspective on the way that the world works, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he made this comment that he was just like, the internet is going to redefine the way that we understand mediums.
Hmm.
It's like, let that sink in, right? It's gonna redefine the way that we understand mediums. It's gonna redefine the very fiber of how things are delivered.
Yeah.
And like, I think that is an incredibly interesting idea. And
Yeah.
and I'm sure, I don't know if he was parroting that or if that's something that was original.
Yeah.
But my point is so, when we look at like outages and people going, and like measuring time online, we are very close to people being online all the time,
Yeah.
absolutely every hour of every day. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying, glued to a screen necessarily, but there in the not too distant future, it will be impossible for you to not interact with the internet. There will be
Well, in
nothing.
addition to the fact that you're constantly generating data, no matter what you're
You're
doing or not doing, you're constantly generating data.
and you're constantly generating data, but dude, you're not. I mean, again, like we were making fun of the Kohler smart shitter or whatever from
Yeah.
from CES last week, but
Yeah.
that's the direction that we're headed in, right?
Hmm.
You are of just constant engagement, Like, we see it as engagement now, but it will be constant support in short order. And there's like a nuance there, right? Where it's, in order for you to do the things that you need to do in your waking world, you're going to have the support of the internet and of technology.
Well, I mean, it's basically going to be, you sit down on that Kohler toilet and you pinch a real gnarled root that
maybe even a rusted root. But
then what you'll do is what'll end up happening is the toilet will do an analysis of your Duke, and then it'll be like, "Excuse me, Joseph, would you like to submit an error report to your primary care physician?"
That's right. It's like, corn speckled brown trout alert. And you're like, whoa, Hal, get out of my ass.
Get out of my ass.
But I mean, there's no way to get around it, coming like a motherfucking freight train. All right, so there's a Trekkie, and there's a
Trekkie that's not happy.
This guy's getting shit from the man.
Yeah. So I pulled this from CBR, and I actually do not know what that. It's got to be like the Canada something.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's. But anyway, so it's the title of the article was "Star Trek fan sues after license plate revoked for being, quote, inappropriate."
Okay.
So I pulled this because I feel like this is just a really good example of like incrementalism. In regards to governments, in my opinion, overreaching where they should.
Okay.
But anyway, so this Canadian Star Trek fan is filing a legal challenge after his personalized license plate was revoked by Manitoba Public Insurance on the grounds that it may be listen to this, on the grounds that it may be interpreted as offensive.
Okay.
So right there, I feel like it's open shut case kind of thing. That it's like, oh, it may be. Go fuck yourself. Anyway.
Okay.
So this dude, Nick Troller, which that's kind of funny that his last name is Troller, but claims to have used his license plate, which reads assimilate, ASIMIL, the number 8, for the better part of 2 years with no complaints. However, MPI, which issues personalized license plates in the province, revoked the plate in 2017, deeming the plate inappropriate and potentially insulting to Indigenous people.
Okay.
So I started looking into okay, I understand what assimilate means, but and I was trying to figure out why this would raise a fuss, and I ended up looking up this this organization, the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, and it's based out of the University of Manitoba. And so basically, their whole mission, I guess, is to basically avoid assimilation, because they said that the schools and the schools were used as a tool of assimilation by the Canadian state and churches. Thousands of students suffered physical and sexual abuse, all suffered from loneliness and a longing to be home with their families. So they basically are trying to stop assimilation kind of thing. Well, so somebody from this organization basically got their panties in a wad over this, because that's how they interpret assimilation. And that's, even though this dude's license plate says assimilate, and it was enclosed in a border reading, "We're the Borg and resistance is futile."
Okay, so what is that?
Yeah, and that's what
you got to get.
Exactly. So, "We're the Borg and resistance is futile." So the Borg, the Borg gained technology and information from other species through the act of forced assimilation. injecting victims with advanced nanoprobes and giving them a series of cybernetic surgeries.
Okay, hold on though. This is in Star Trek, and this is
Star Trek,
the race
the Next
called the
Generation,
Borgs.
and Voyager.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And this is this is how the Borgs work.
Yeah, they basically take you as a slave kind of thing, give you cybernetic surgeries and stuff, pump you full of these like nanoprobe things so that they can, and so that you'll be part of the hive mind kind of thing.
Okay.
That is literally as far as this fucking dude was seeing this plate.
Okay.
I mean, it has a vanity border specifically saying, "We are the Borg, and resistance is futile." And so he's taking this to court, and he's basically saying that that by revoking his license plate, it violates his freedom of expression. Which I agree, man. I think that's fucking stupid. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, just because a word in the past was used in a certain way doesn't mean. I mean, the English language gets fucking redefined yearly, I feel like. You know?
Yeah, and you know, whatever though, man. These people are gonna overreach, and they're gonna do. I do not for one second think that the way that government works today is going to be the way that it works in even a decade.
Yeah,
like there's no fucking
even
there's
5 years.
There's no fucking way for these knuckleheads to keep up with what's happening.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's like clear, dude. If this guy wants to put, well, I don't know. It's
this guy wants to put a plate on his car that says "fuck you, you fucking fuck."
He should be able to do it. You know,
I agree. It's offensive, but you know, shit, dude. That's the great part about living in the United States. We're allowed to say offensive things. We're not free from the repercussions of saying.
This guy's in Canada.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's why I was saying like that. This is incrementalism in Canada. That if you don't think it's already fucking made its way over here. And that it's just, I mean, dude, we deal with this shit daily, looking up articles for Tether. That it's like somebody's got their fucking panties in a wad because somebody went to the grocery store and picked out a banana that was browner and was like, "Ooh, gross! I don't want that banana." And it's like, well, that's racist because the banana turned brown, and you don't want it because it's brown.
Wait, did you just make this up, or did this actually happen?
That's my point. You don't fucking know, do you?
I know. I know. You don't know.
No, I made that up completely. But my point is that it's like, dude, this is the shit that people are fucking up in arms about right now, which is just funny. I mean, it's laughable to me.
Yeah, but dude, there is a rage industry.
Yeah.
Fact, right?
True.
Like
True.
there is a rage industry, and their product is rage.
Yeah.
And so when you have an industry, and that industry has a product, in order to perpetuate that industry, which, by the way, the rage industry is a damn good industry to be in right now, right? Like you can and by the way, off the rage industry, you have the protest industry, you have the you know, in some ways the social justice industry. I mean, they're like all of these movements. I mean, I think people should do whatever the fuck they want to do, and I think people should feel the way that they want to feel. That's fine, right? Like it's not, you don't get to say, well, I don't get to say that, you know, people should be able to say whatever they want, and then me turn around and say, oh, but this, because being a social justice warrior is just absurd. Like, I don't, you know, say what you want to say. And hopefully reason will, you know, tease out the winning argument.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. There is a rage industry. There is a protest industry. And for these industries to thrive, you have to continue to feed that type of product into the machine.
Well, and honestly, you know, you said as long as you can say whatever you want, hopefully reason will prevail kind of thing. But the whole concept or foundation of the rage culture is just stoking emotions. So that you don't fucking reason and you're not logical. Yeah. I feel like, but
no, I think you're right. But that's, you know, that's the hustle. That's the balance, man. You know, it's that hopefully, I mean, emotion is important because emotion, Well, I think emotion is important because emotion is kind of what separates us from, our tree dwelling cousins. But at the same time, unbridled, unchecked emotional reaction is as slovenly in my mind as like eating cupcakes all day. Like it's not disciplined and it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna, well, some people do, but hopefully most people aren't, just dumping tons of sugar into their bodies each day, right? And I think that's the same thing with emotions. Emotions can be really meaningful and have a place, or they can be like cheap. And that's whatever. It's exactly just to stay on the anecdote, I guess, or stay on the analog. It's like the calories that you put in your body. So, so I'm with you, but like I guess getting back to this article, you're just in a situation like this. That, like, just for anybody listening here, here's the takeaway: stay the fuck out of the system. Just stay out of the meat grinder, because even if you are like, this guy's bopping around, he's got this plate. Maybe he doesn't even know that he hasn't even thought through how it could be misconstrued or whatever, right? But once you're in the system, you're fucked, because it's like, some.
Well, so do you think that he should be responsible for thinking through how?
No, I don't. Not at all. But I'll bet you that. So this guy gets pulled over, right? That's how this happened.
Okay.
You know what I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just giving an example. Instead of saying, "Well, fuck you, man, I paid for this license plate, whatever," and I was there, I have no idea what happened.
So I think he was actually just contacted. I don't know if he was actually pulled over.
Oh, okay.
They basically said they weren't going to issue a updated plate to him.
I would just go so out of my way to like appease whoever was on the other end of the line if they were the one making the call, just to stay the fuck out of the system. Because that's the big problem, dude. Once you get into this, again, I'll call it this, is once you get into the meat grinder, dude, it is hard to get out. So now this guy's going to have to like devote hours of his life to fighting this, this thing, which is important. Don't get me wrong. This is absolutely a violation of his free speech, but it's just like, what a fucking pain in the ass, man.
Yeah.
And so doing your best to kind of stay out of the system is.
Well, so how would you? Well, I mean, so you're basically saying don't combat it, kind of thing.
What I'm saying is do you, to the point where mind your own shit until your rights are actively abridged. And it's not like me marching down the middle of a street with a Confederate flag being like, fuck you, I'll do what I want. You know what I mean? It's like do your thing in the way that you want to do it, and if your rights are abridged with you minding your own business and doing your own thing, then fuck yeah, rise up for sure.
Do you not think that he probably thought he was doing that?
I do, and this may not be the best example. This may not be the best example of what I'm talking about, but it's just like once you get in the system, it's fucked. I guess that's my point, right? Like,
I agree with you. I guess it's one of those things that it's hard to draw that line in between. I guess giving resistance due to the principle of the matter, kind of thing.
Yeah,
'cause it's like, okay, well, when you really look at it, it's a fucking license plate. Who the fuck cares? But the point really is the fact that because some other person could potentially interpret his license plate as being offensive, then he's not allowed to have it.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's just
that's
weird.
That's loud and clear, and I don't disagree that in this case, fuck yeah, you should fight it. I mean, it's without a doubt. But I also know that it's just it is God, I don't know. I've just been through this shit with like local governments on like silly things before, and it's just
it's not worth your time.
It's just crazy.
Right?
It's just fucking crazy, man. I mean, for me, it was like licensing on a very specific type of business in Southern California, and it was just unreal how we have built this bureaucracy where it's like somebody is tasked with enforcing something, and you know, a lot of people that you find in these roles in government, they don't care. They just show up. They just fucking rubber stamp shit, and they're not critical thinkers, you know. And it's like, think about the amount of times that somebody could have squelched this and been like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Why does it? Are you kidding me? Like, who noticed this and brought it up?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the number of times internally, the government is not just this monolithic thing. It's made up of people, right? But these people are just not, you know, painting with a super broad brush here. A lot of the people that work in these roles are just not, you know, doing their job in terms of like self-regulation. And like, you know, your boss brings you this and they're like, "What do you think about this?" Like, how is anyone's response? No, totally. We got to shut this fucking guy down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got to shut this law-abiding citizen down for this. Like you don't have any context on this guy. You know, I mean, does he have like a profile that seems problematic? That seems like it's just, again, and really it doesn't fucking matter. He should be able to say whatever he wants to, no matter what what his flavor of life is. But, you know, so anyway, I guess that's my point, is like really what I would love to see is just a shift internally, but that's not the way that it works, because the people that are attracted to working in government jobs ain't that type. They ain't that flavor. You know, they do a lot of marching and probably not a lot of critical thinking, and they end up, you know, having decisions like this be, you know, handed down through multiple levels. It should have been questioned in multiple places and never was. And now this guy's going to spend his time fighting it. You know, hoorah, man. He should. He absolutely should. But it's like, I think a lot about how to just generally stay out of the system. Because it's just like, again, once you're in there, man, like it's then the reason, like, unless this guy can get just a really lucid, like overblown defense going very quickly, and I'm saying, so there is, you know, the equivalent of the ACLU, and they're like, this is fucking ridiculous, and they like raise the flag,
open and shut kind of shit.
And they raise the flag, and just like, but it's like, if it's this guy answering, legal, like, working through the legalese of the Canadian government, like, good fucking luck, man, because these guys, they got what you don't: time.
Yeah,
and they will wait.
You're
you
exactly right.
They will wait you the fuck out. Hey, that being said, before we head on, because we're heading into the home stretch here. Yeah. Have you been tracking the updates on the yellow vest stuff?
So that's really weird that you just fucking brought that up. I literally wrote down on this my like show notes stuff or whatever in front of me to bring up this article that I saw that the yellow vests have successfully beaten down 60% of traffic cameras in France.
Dude, it's
fucking getting crazy over there.
And this is something to absolutely track, dude. Yeah. I mean, France is a first world, fully developed country, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was funny because just anecdotally, I was at this metal show. And my buddy and I stepped outside for a second to get some air. And there was this lady out there who was, man, I don't know, 55. And we'd had a couple of drinks, and I like point over at her and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "May I speak with you for a second?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dude, what is your story?" You know what I mean? Because there were all these like fully tatted, like, you know, like troglodytes walking around this fucking metal show, and then there's like this school marm, you know, that's like out there. And so she's just like, I've been listening to like Iggy and the Stooges was my band back in the day, and I mean she was very conservatively dressed, and she was like, whenever I have the opportunity to go out to a show like this, I do it, and my husband couldn't come, so I just decided to go, which that story in and of itself was pretty cool that somebody's would do that. But then we started talking about France and the Yellow Vest or whatever, and she was this lady who was. I said she was conservatively dressed. She was, because we were at a metal show, but she was fairly liberal in the way that she looked at the world. Her worldview was a fairly liberal point of view. And she was just saying that like the tension in France right now, I mean, and this was December, right? So this was like kind of prior to, I think there had been some Yellow Vests protests at that point, but it hasn't scaled up like it is now. And it's just like, dude, Macron is like, I think such a great example of elitism being rammed down the throats of people that just whose their basic needs aren't fucking met. I mean, it's like one of the things that kicked this off was this tax on fuel, right? Yeah. Because Macron was saying we're going to take our economy in this green direction, and thus things that aren't green are going to be taxed. And we're going to start with diesel and gas, right? And so the problem is you've got people in the countryside, man, that aren't cutting their fucking bills as it is. Right? And now you're like heaping these taxes on it for like this like green future. It's totally tone deaf. And it's not, I'm not saying that, whether this is good for the planet or needs to be the direction that the planet heads in, that's not really the point here, right? The point is when you start talking about timelines like the next 100 years and whatever, when you're 43, 57, 65, you don't give a fuck about the next 100 years. Your timeline is the next, 2. So it's just going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, and I am hopeful that developed countries are taking notes here because it's a big fucking deal. Like,
dude, it's a big deal, and I mean, dude, it could happen to any country.
Well, when governments stop being, stop thinking deeply about the reasons that like, look, man, I swear to you, these guys have forgotten why the fuck they're there. They've forgotten that we created them, not the other way around.
And we allow them to have power.
That is precisely correct. And somehow the narrative has shifted, to where, people feel like they are, that the government is like a necessity. And it is for the time being, but it is as kind of sovereignty, personal sovereignty, and like, the sovereignty of, we talked about this a few months ago, actually. Personal sovereignty is starting to be abridged and like overshadowed by this perceived need for political sovereignty, right? Like sovereignty of state. So sovereignty of state seems to be encroaching on personal sovereignty, and like there are more of us than there are of them, and that's as far as I've gotten with that thought. But it's like, really thinking about that, dude, there are these circles that are expanding, and like the idea of the government managing you and not the other way around, dude, that was
not why the founding fathers created the fucking government.
And it's a new idea, right? Like a social security number, like the government being like this safety net. It's not. This is not a, it's not I don't know. It's just not something that's been time tested, and frankly, it just seems like a bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
If you're living in Southern California, is somebody in Washington D.C.? I don't give a fuck if you have elected them. It's a representative democracy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Are them with their peers? Are they going to be able to really throw in place the legislation that is absolutely best for you and those around you in Hemet, California? Which, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, is like night and day from West Hollywood, California, which is
Yeah.
completely different from Fresno. Like, and that's
And
just
fucking like
California.
Chico and all
And
that jazz.
that's
That it's
just
like,
California. And I'm just using
yeah,
that as an example just because it's so far away from Washington. But it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. That's where I keep coming with this is that this idea of personal sovereignty and sovereignty of state seem to be opposed, seem to be opposing views, maybe for the first time,
mm-hmm.
because the state has gotten into this methodical and regular overreach about like fucking telling you what the fucking have on your license plate.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's like this is a service that you're paying for, that you're buying into because you're implicitly agreeing, or maybe explicitly if you're cutting checks, but
yeah,
you're agreeing that it's probably best to like know who owns this car so that, as all these 2,000-pound missiles are speeding around, if some shit goes down, people
mm-hmm.
can be held accountable. I mean, like that's ultimately what we're after. And
Yeah,
instead, all of this stuff has been kind of flipped into I don't know, flipped into businesses and bastardized, and we're getting away from why this stuff started. But anyway,
yeah.
we need
The
to.
the big picture has totally been lost, I feel like. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of all that I wanted
It's
to say.
it's
But
well, it's on the brink. It
yeah,
it it is on the brink,
yeah,
and I think though that we're not. I just fundamentally don't believe that we being the masses. I don't think we're going to lose this battle. I
yeah.
just don't. I just don't
I don't
think so,
either.
because I don't think that, like, if you say the government's got nukes, sure, that's true, but the way that they control these nukes is through technology,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that technology is, I mean, we've got an uncle who we're from Tennessee originally, right? And we've got an
Mm-hmm.
uncle who's a gun advocate, and he goes, the 38 made the big man obsolete, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is funny because this is coming from an 80-year-old guy, but I think it's the same with technology, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's leveled the playing field, and now if you have a MacBook Air, and VS Code, you have the ability to create programs that could actually, protect you against much larger, more complex entities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not, I think that's the freedom that we need to make sure that we're trying to protect. But anyway, let's get into the end here, because we need to wrap episode
Yeah.
3 deuce right here. So real quickly here, there is a website that we just posted. The title of which is fucking lame, but it's pudding.cool. And it's the pudding, right, is this website.
Yeah.
But the link links to this thing called Human Terrain. And it is a tool that helps you visualize the world's population in 3D. So you can go through and look at different parts of the world, and it's got these kind of relief map looking things that allow you to see, kind of have an idea of how populations are kind of dispersed throughout the world, right? And so it is a fucking really, really cool tool. I don't know, Daniel, did you get the chance to play with it at all?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's basically it shows like spikes and stuff of different areas, and of basically population density, which I think that you just said. But
Yeah, and
it's actually a pretty cool little project.
yeah, it's kind of a novelty, but it's pretty cool. Dude, go over to, and we're gonna wrap here, but go over to
Hmm.
Mexico City.
Mexico City. Okay. Is there a way to search?
Well, you should be able to just
Scroll out.
drag the map.
Gotcha. Okay. Oops. Oh, wow.
Mexico City is fucking huge, and
Yeah.
people don't think about that, but it is gigantic.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it's
super crazy.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, dude, it's like just visual comparison on here. It looks like about 2 or 3 New Yorks stacked together.
Yeah, I mean, in the Mexico City surrounding area, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the population in Mexico is 109 million. Mexico City, in the city, this is from 2007, 8.2 million people.
Wow.
I mean, that is wild. By comparison, New York is 8.623 million, right? With 350 million in the United States, right?
Yeah,
So it's just
yeah.
like 8% of the goddamn population of Mexico lives in Mexico City. It's just, I don't know. I love thinking about that shit. Well, we are out of time here. Episode 32 drawing to a close. That was great. That was great for us. Hope it was good for you guys too. But yeah, man. So getting this year started off strong. As I mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode, we've got a special flavor that we're batching up for y'all in late February, and it's going to be tastier than a 10-pack of Tendies on the side of rural Route 8.
Yeah. Route 35 in Alabama, baking in that Alabama sun.
Yeah, that's right. So, but man, I bet all the critters around there just like that's once in a fucking generation right there, dude.
Yeah.
You're like a possum hanging out on your stretch or whatever, and all of a sudden just fucking Tindy Planet comes and introduces itself. It's incredible. But as always, I'm gonna play us out here with some social media handles to make sure that we stay in touch with y'all. If you are listening to this and you are listening to us on iTunes, why don't you hop over and give us a rating? Be brutal or be kind or do whatever the fuck you want. It's all good. Just give us a rating. We'd love to have a couple of those up from some of you, dear listeners. tetherradio@gmail.com. That is how you can get in touch with us and tell us good things or bad things or things you might like to hear us cover. That's tetherradio@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @tether_radio. You can find us on Instagram @tether_radio, same as the tweet. You can find us on Facebook, Tether Radio, all one word, Tether Radio on Facebook. So this has been super real. Fucking love it. Loving the cadence this year. It's going to be a good one. There's tons of fucked up shit that we're gonna have to cover, and man, keep our fingers on the pulse. So I'm Joseph,
And I'm Daniel.
we are reminding you to stay tethered, friends, and we will talk to you next week, and we'll be bringing an even bigger episode with these even fresh
Maybe some more Tendies, or some road Tendies.
definitely road Tendies, maybe more. All right, y'all, have a great week. We will talk to you next week.
See you guys.